Hello, and welcome to One Spark Stories, the podcast where innovators, creators, and some unsuspecting risk takers share about navigating highs and lows, laughter and tears, and how sometimes all it takes is one spark of inspiration to find your way to happiness. This podcast will leave you inspired to take action on your own purpose as we connect, create, and celebrate unique sparks around the globe, once again proving that it is a small world after all. Lee Cockerell spent his career working at Hilton, Marriott, and most notably, he served as Executive Vice President of Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. When I first met Lee, it was back in 2006. He was newly retired, and I was working as a campus representative for the Disney College program. What's funny about that story is at the time he was coming to town to do his incredible conversation with us about time management magic. He was coming for what was titled as a black tie event we were helping host, and all I could think was, holy cow, I don't have a black tie. I'm not joking. That was my biggest fear. Luckily, I've evolved since then and now understand what that means, and I did make it through. But his kindness and humble leadership is what drew me in to continue to follow him throughout his retirement. When his podcast, Creating Disney Magic, came out, I was thrilled to have little snippets of Lee's insight. Over the years, he would often talk about, reach out, email me, connect with me, and so I finally did. And from that day on, several years ago, I have made sure to follow up with Lee anytime I am in town. We grab a cup of coffee, and I've even recently gone to one of his mastermind events. I am incredibly grateful to have Lee on this podcast today so we all can enjoy his leadership insights, his humble upbringing, and why the man people often called low-key Lee is the one that can help you create Disney magic in your everyday life. Well, hello, Lee Cockerell. How are you doing today?
Hey there, Katie. Good to see you. Great.
Good to see you as well. And I am so glad to have you on us so you can share your insights because you have had quite a career. Let's see, working backwards, you spent 16 years at the Disney company, not all as the vice president of Walt Disney World in that position. Yeah. And then time at Marriott and Hilton as well.
Yeah, I started at Hilton and did 8 years there with them all over the country. And then I joined Marriott for 17 years and Disney for 16. And then I retired and now I just talk.
I was going to say, I would beg to differ on that retired thing because between the books, the Cockerell Academy, the speaking, the courses, you're pretty busy. I mean, maybe even as busy as ever sometimes.
Yeah, I would tell anybody thinking about retiring, figure out something you're going to do because the life expectancy is not long if you sit on the couch all day and watch TV. So you got to keep busy. I mean, it's literally, I think most people figure that out after they've been retired a while and get bored. Playing golf, you can't do it every single day. And I enjoy it. So it's kind of my golf game. I enjoy what I do. So it's not really, I don't consider it work so much.
Well, that's always a good thing, especially in retirement. There's no sense in adding stress at those later years once you've had a very, very nice career. So I want to dig into that career, but first I want to take it way back to young Lee, just to learn a bit more about who you are and how you became the person we're speaking to today. So first up is when you were a child, what was your creative or play outlet? What was your favorite thing to do as a kid?
Well, I lived on a farm, so I think the only thing we thought about is playing cowboys and Indians.
And that's perfect.
And we didn't get a TV till I was in the 5th grade, so we didn't get exposed to a lot of creative kinds of things. We'd go to a movie occasionally, and it was usually a Western or a double feature Western. And so that was kind of our small world of farm, cowboys and Indians. It was I never went on vacation my whole life for the first 20 years of my life. We didn't have the money. We didn't, when you have an animal, you can't go. And my mother was having all kinds of issues. She was married 5 times, so she was kind of busy. And so that's I had no clue. I was a very average to poor student. I don't know how I graduated exactly. I think they require you to leave, so they need the desk for the next student next year. And I got to go to college because my mother married this rich doctor, and he had money. So I went off to college and didn't do anything but play around, and flunked out after 2 years and went in the Army. And I think it was just to that everything started after that. Once I got out of that little small world I lived in, and first place I went after the Army was to Washington, D.C., and that's where I started my career. And that was a whole new world.
Oh, yeah.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I'm going like, I had no idea. You just can't imagine going from a small farm town to Washington. And I got a job as a waiter. I had never been a waiter, never been in a hotel my whole life. And luckily, I have a good attitude though. And a young German guy who was my boss took me by the hand and trained me and showed me the ropes. And that's how I got a break. Somebody's helping me. And so after that, I just kept doing it, tried to be the best little waiter they ever had. Next thing I got into a management training program and I think too, really literally, good attitude, and I'm very organized. I mean, they could always count on me. And those two things they give you a chance to learn.
Yeah.
And I did. I learned, and I didn't do good in college. I took accounting twice to make a D, but my next job was a controller for the food and beverage businesses. And somebody shows me how to do it, it's better than me. Theory doesn't work very well with me. I have to actually lay my hands on it, do it. And I took off, and got promoted many times. I worked in Washington, Chicago, Waldorf Astoria in New York, Los Angeles. We lived everywhere. And I joined Marriott. And by then I had a lot of experience in food and beverage. So of course, that's where I got a job, because people want you for what you can do for them, not for what you want to do. And that worked well. I stayed with Marriott, and for 17 years became the vice president of food and beverage because I was an expert in the food business. And that worked well. And then I got recruited by Disney to go to Disneyland Paris and open the food businesses. And I was trying to get out of food and beverage, but I kept getting drawn back in because, well, that's what they needed. And then I got promoted out of that to run the hotel division over there, and then back to Disney World. So just took time and experience. If you do something long enough, you become good at it. And I tell people today, just stay focused and keep doing a great job and learn more every day. And you got everything's fingertips today. Get on Google and become an expert in something in the next 6, 7, 8, 9 months. You'll know more than anybody else. And then you'll get somebody will hire you. I mean, that's what people want. What can you do for me? I think too many of us try to go around trying to get people to do what we want when they need you for what you can do for them. And so that's something we all got to remember is get yourself ready, and then you won't have a problem, especially today. There's a million jobs open right now for people to know something. And people are not as particular now about a college degree. If you can, especially in the technology, the hospitality business, get a lot of experience, and you can make your break. Yeah. You don't have to stay on the farm.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's funny how you mentioned that person just taking you in, teaching you. And the big pillars of One Spark that I focus on are connect, create, and celebrate, which very much go along with, you talk a lot about experience, exposure, education, and how those can really help, how recognizing individuals, that acknowledgement. People want to be able to be told that you're doing something well, or you have this opportunity or capability. Could you imagine, as young farm boy Lee, what was your perception of your future? I can't imagine that you saw working at Disney, being executive vice president, in the line. But what was it at that moment before you realized the power of connection and training and being a good person?
I had no idea. Never had a goal in my life. People said they had a goal for this and goal for that. My boss at Disney said he knew when he was 17 he'd be president one day. When I was 17, I didn't even know you had to work. I mean, it was like I had no idea, zero. And so you can, I mean, I guess it's fine to have a goal, but sometimes people, their goal is bigger than their hard work and capability, and they want the next job more than they want to do the job they have. Somebody told me once, don't worry about the next job, worry about the one you got, and then you might get the next one. And it was just, for me, it was just progressive. I mean, I'm telling you, deep into my career, I never had any goals. I just kept doing a good job and they kept promoting me. I said, oh, this is working pretty good, because I have a basic problem. I had a huge fear of failure. I was an insecure kid, didn't have a college degree, and grew up in this place in farmland. So I think my biggest driver for me was fear of failure. I didn't want to fail, so I worked like a dog, worked hard, and did whatever they wanted me to do. And every time I did that, I got promoted. So I figured that fear of failure is not all bad.
Well, that's very true. And I think it goes to be said. Now, you've written, what is it? We got 4 books here: Time Management Magic, Creating Magic, Customer Rules, Career Magic. All of these have nuggets of knowledge from you. But one thing I appreciate is, as much as you have this, your candor about fear of failure, I know that you've mentioned there have been some hiccups along the road. You've maybe not always been the nice guy, as much as, what was it, low-key Lee, but there you've had some hiccups, and it sounds like maybe you adjusted from those versus just stopping, right?
Yeah, I think when you're insecure, sometimes you take advantage of your position and kind of abuse people and kind of intimidate people, because you just don't want people questioning you. You already don't think you're anybody. And that's the problem. I always tell people, anybody that in the world that you work with that is trying to intimidate you or making you feel inferior or any of those things, that person, I guarantee you, has a deep lack of self-confidence. And you see it all the time. You see it with politicians. You see it with people yelling, raising their voice, trying to talk down to people. Why would you do that? Well, it's you. You don't feel good, and so you're going to show people how great you are through this arrogance, and that's a big problem. And I was able to work out of it. I ended up working for Marriott, which was an incredible company, and they really are. They just really treat you right, and they train you and spend time with you and make sure you know what you're doing. And as I learned more, my confidence got stronger as I figured out eventually, hey, I'm pretty good at this stuff. And so I slowly changed, and it took a long time. I mean, it was 15, 20 years into my career before I realized that other people weren't the problem. It was me.
Oh, that's a big statement. I like that, because I think it's so much easier to pass blame and say, well, they don't get it. They don't understand. Well, breaking news, it's probably me that really doesn't get it.
It's true. I tried to control my wife, Priscilla, for 25 years. That didn't work, so I quit doing that. Now we've been married 54 years, and she said she's going to stay, so I'm doing pretty good now.
That's a pretty good track record, I'd say so, especially hearing that you didn't maybe have the model of a strong marriage and what that would look like. So
I didn't, but you know what I did have, and I was lucky, as my grandmother was nearby, and she was all empathy, and you can do anything you want to do, and she adored me. And so I had that balance, luckily, because if you don't have somebody that's telling you good things about yourself, and so everybody needs to find somebody that cares about them and wants to help them. And so I think that's a big problem today is people are a lot of anxiety. People are not feeling like anybody cares about them. And the workforce is really stressed out right now. So chances you getting a boss that's not a very nice person or unreasonable or is demanding is high. And you just got to make sure you don't start believing it's you. That's when you start to go downhill, is when you think I'm not worthy or I can't do it. And when in fact, most people can do it fine if they just stick, and a little patience. You don't expect to be the vice president in 2 years. I mean, it takes time. It takes time to learn all those things, and you got to put in the time. And if you do that, I think most anybody can have a good career today.
Absolutely. And I think one of the critical things is with you not having a direct goal to be that executive VP, to get to the top. Sometimes when you do set a goal like that, it can almost hold you back from getting that because you're so focused on getting what that position needs now instead of working toward what it needs down the road. And so it sounds like because you just kept doing good work and figuring out how to solve a problem, it led you down the path that ultimately was more than you could have even imagined, quite literally.
Yeah, and I think if you're not careful with too big a goal, you start becoming too political and trying to play the game, and people figure that out instead of focusing on your performance.
Yeah.
I think your performance will carry you further than manipulation and trying to act like you know something you don't really know. Because going through that fire of your career and having those ups and downs really prepares you to do the hard things. I mean, you got to make hard decisions in life, and you got to deal with hard things. And if you've been through them, you know how to handle them better. You know how to have more empathy with people and tell them the truth, because you know that's what matters. If I don't know the truth, I don't know what to do to get better. And everybody doesn't want to hear the truth. And I didn't either when I was young. I couldn't take feedback very well. I took it personally until one time I had a boss that said, "Lee, do you realize the whole world doesn't revolve around Lee Cockerell?" Really?
Huh?
Nobody's thinking about you, Lee. Just do your job. And that turned me around. Whoa, because I think we all think everybody's thinking about us every minute, and oh my God, what do they think, and what kind of shoes I have on? Nobody cares. Just do your job. Be great.
They're busy thinking about themselves.
Exactly. Most people are trying to survive. They don't worry about you.
Yeah.
So just do great work, learn more, read every day. You got everything at your fingertips. You can learn so much now. You got it in your pocket, that phone, and just use it.
Yeah.
Quit playing Candy Crush and start learning something.
So invest in actually some meaningful time. I mean, yes, a little creative outlet's fine, but if you're noticing your time on there versus your time on actual, growth experiences or connections, meaningful connections, that might be what's holding you back.
Yeah, when you go for an interview and they say, "What's your strength?" and you say, "Well, I'm pretty good at Candy Crush," I don't think you're going to get hired.
Dang it. Oh man, I'll have to tell my kids those video games aren't actually going to work. No. Actually, they really, that creative side can be leveraged, but maybe design a game. Take your experience of Candy Crush and now make it better. Find a way to enhance it.
It's true. It can be, but a lot of people are trying to go. I think everybody in the United States is getting a degree in graphic art. And they're good at it. I mean, they're amazing, but there's not a demand for that many.
Yeah.
And they got wonderful degrees from the best schools, and they can create anything. But people can get it done for you because there's so many out there. You don't even have to pay that much to get it done anymore.
Yeah.
So be careful what you're learning along the way.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I want to think about you went through your career, which people can certainly read about. They can join Cockerell Academy. There's so many ways to hear your story. But one thing that I like to think about and what got this podcast going. So way back, I don't even know if you would remember this. It was when you first retired, you came up to Cincinnati State and we did a time management course, and you came around and we had great conversation. Again, real surprise, Lee Cockerell talking about time management. But through those years, I continued to follow you in your retirement and see where things went. And you kept talking about reach out, we can get coffee. And I'm like, there's no way Lee Cockerell is going to sit down with me and have coffee. Just that mentality that we're less than. And yet here we are. We've had coffee several times. In fact, recently with my daughter, and she was
my wife wants to know who you are. Why are you having coffee with her all the time?
And I think that as much as I love to learn and hear, it's amazing how when I've come to you, the few times that I've come not really expecting a lesson, you've given me the momentum to move forward and the words that you've said. And there were 2 times that stand out. One recently, and I've talked about several times on this podcast, was at your mastermind when I'm trying to process what can I do and explaining my whole background. And you quite frankly said, Katie, don't justify, just be. And that is something that is so true. You could try to justify how you got to the position that you were at Disney, but you were just Lee. You were an employee. And the other side of that was several years ago, I was in a very toxic work environment. And I had reached out. In fact, we had coffee and I followed up with a thank you. And the email response you sent back sent me to tears in a good way. I was really confused and overwhelmed. What do I do? And your response to me was, find happiness. And I actually have it on a sign in the room now, because that is something I think is so simple. That is what I have really leveraged from that day forward. And so what would you say for you was a spark, a moment that you realize, I think it's time to retire, and then leaning into that happiness, knowing what it is that you wanted to do for that next chapter?
Well, corporate life's tough, and Disney is even tougher because the expectations and performance and demands are, I mean, literally for 10 years, my wife said my face retired the day I retired because you go a million miles an hour there. And I just I was still doing the same thing. I just like, there's got to be more to this. And somebody said, why did you retire? And I said, well, first I could, because I'd gotten ready. And that's half the battle, make sure you can. And I wanted to teach. I like teaching. I like presenting. And I always wanted to write a book, but I didn't think anybody would buy it. And then I ran into a lady who said, hey, I'll take care of that for you. Creating Magic's in 22 languages now, and it's around the world. And the other books are doing great. And so it was just, I needed, as my son did it too. And I think he was at Disney 25 years running the Magic Kingdom. And his wife said to him on his 49th birthday, so Daniel, what are we going to do next? And he looked at her like, what are you talking about? I'm going to work. And she said, we're not doing this for another 25 years. You're never home. You work all the time. You're never home on New Year's Eve, Christmas, nothing. It's always work. And so they thought about it for a year, and he quit. And he's got a booming business now. They travel all over the world together. Their kids are gone off to college and they're done. And he's a different person. He's healthier. He looks better. He feels better. He sleeps better, Yeah. And I didn't learn it at 49. I didn't retire till I was 62. But I think a lot of people are rethinking, is it worth it really? Yeah. How much money do you need? How many TVs do you need? How many watches do you need? How many, in France, I love the French because every woman there has a couple of black dresses and all these 25 or 30 scarves, and that's it. Their closet's not full. They save their money and spend it for vacation and travel and going out and and there's a lot to think about, and hopefully that you think about it early enough that I said, if you're healthy and you're, people say, how you doing, Lee? And I said, well, nobody's in jail and nobody's in rehab, and my wife hadn't left me. We're all healthy. Everybody's healthy. I said, what else do you want? I mean, really? I mean, I don't want anything. I don't want any new undershorts, socks. I would drive a 16-year-old car. I don't want anything, nothing. And for what?
Yeah.
I see these old guys with a convertible Mercedes with a young chick next to them, and they're my age, and I'm going like, what? First of all, I could never have an affair because if I had a young woman, she'd want to go out at night. I go to bed, so I couldn't even take her out. So I'm not a good catch, you know. You know?
Sounds to me like you found happiness. Then you know what you've got, and you are very grateful.
I don't know if it's so much. It's just complete.
Yeah.
Satisfied. You know, when somebody said, "What would you say about your life?" I said, "It's complete." I mean, I got married. I got 3 great, and my grandkids are amazing, doing all well. My son's doing well. I mean, well, gosh, just think about all the problems you can have, and most of this drive to be. I tell people, don't be famous. It's dangerous to be famous. It's just getting all kinds of problems, drugs and alcohol and drugs, and thinking you're hot stuff, and nobody cares about Lee Cockerell, really. If they can learn something, great, but they don't lay awake thinking about my life every day. I wonder how much money he has, why. No, people don't even care. They don't care if you got a brand new shoes on. They don't care about anything. Don't worry about it. And that's what you got to get to, that it's your fame is in your mind. Don't, yeah. You're not, you think you're hot stuff. Well,
yeah,
it's not. Just be nice to people and do what you can and teach them and train. And yeah, that's what I like, is thinking about that. What are people saying behind your back about you? You know?
Well, yeah, and if they're talking about me, they're not my people. So that's what it is.
Yeah, and so it took me and like you said, it took me a long time to get there, because early on, when you're young and insecure and want everybody to think you're hot stuff, you know, the biggest thing I wanted when I started working was a business card so I could give it to ladies, and I wanted bigger titles so it would look good. I mean, I want stationery with your name on it, or shirts with your initials. No, I had all those, and it was like, why?
Yeah.
What was that about?
Yeah, I think that's really, really fascinating to hear that you've had it, and every time it probably was like, oh, well, it's not nearly as exciting as it sounded.
No.
Yeah. In fact, it might felt a little ridiculous at times.
Well, it's this life we live in is where it's never enough. And that's when you get in trouble, you know. It's never enough.
Yeah. What was that movie, The Greatest Showman, where they sing that song, never enough, never enough. Yeah.
Never enough. And we're wired that way. We want more and more and more. And that doesn't make you. So it's hard for people to get there, because we grow up very competitive, and what's he doing? What's he do? What, Can
I do better? I could do better. Let me try it. But then it's not aligned, and you just wear yourself out, and that's not good for anybody.
Early in my career, I had friends that all graduated from college. They were working at IBM and all these places, and I was, a waiter at the Washington Hilton, and it bothered me. I was hoping they wouldn't show up to my house to ask me what I did for a living, but then after a while, I did better than they all did, and so I got even. But it's just when you're young and insecure, and everybody's trying to measure your life against theirs, and what you have and what they. So it's hard when you're young.
It is, and it can be a slippery slope, and you can very quickly go down the wrong way. So I think it's admirable that you were able to say, you know what, I'm just going to keep moving forward. There at IBM, that's all right. I can keep the flies out of the kitchen, right?
That was my job.
Yes, I love it. So then if people want to hear, you are teaching so much now, where can they connect with you? Where would be the best place for everybody to find Lee Cockerell?
Well, I tell them just go to my website, leecockerell.com, mainly because I put everything there. Some of it's free, some you can buy. There's videos of speeches. There's the podcast is free. There's 400 episodes there now, just about one more to go, I think. And I got a note from a lady today that wants to meet with me when she comes to Orlando. And she said she has listened to 5 years of them now. And that's 200. And she said she's going to listen to all of them. She said, because I really learned a lot. just turn for 15 minutes. I never thought about it. That's the way to speak to somebody, or that's the way to have a conversation. And so that's good. So there's a lot of free stuff. My books are on there. My podcast is on there. We have the Cockerell Academy, which is a $400 a year to be a member, or you can pay, I don't know if we still have the $40 a month, but we can probably figure that out for somebody. But it's just, we're just really producing a lot of content from experience. It's not theory. These things work. And teaching people to be candid and be straightforward and make the hard decisions and don't try to spin everything and take responsibility, Yeah. Sometimes you make a mistake. You do. And quit trying to play the game. And that's hard because when you get into corporate, everybody's playing the game, and then you start stepping back because you're afraid of upsetting. I was in trouble most of my career, basically all the time, because I was always doing what I wasn't supposed to do. HR was always mad at me, and but you got to know what your values are, and you need to live by them. I can't support this discrimination, and I can't. I mean, I left that area and I worked with people from all over the world, every religion, especially in the hotel business. That's entry level. Everybody's from somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. And this assault on women, I can't go there. I mean, we can talk about it, but at the end of the day, So living by your values is stressful sometimes because people don't like it. Ooh, and I basically, you are who you are, and you got to be who you are.
That's the truth. I like that. Just be yourself, right? And don't justify, just be. Taking it back to that statement.
Yeah, and it's not going to be easy because you're going to push back, and anything you do that's hard, there's people not going to like it.
Yeah, that is so true.
Even your kids growing up didn't like it when you were being tough on them.
Oh, that's daily now. We're in that stage. but I still get hugs because they know, they understand. And I think it goes back to, much like we need to be honest and have that candor at work, it's the same thing at home. We have to explain why. Kids should absolutely be able to ask why. In fact, the day they stop asking why, I'm going to get a little concerned, because that means they don't care. That means they don't wonder why anymore.
That's exactly right. And this is the thing we need to stay focused on. It's for them, not for you.
Yeah.
A mother wants,
even though it is my world. No, just
but mothers don't care if you're happy. They care if you're successful. And,
yeah. And that's where we're at right now in this phase of life. But I think they see it, and they have been able to see other leaders. They've been able to see what you've done, and how we can take what situation we're given, and we can either let that be what holds us back, or say, it is what it is. Now I take the control and I keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
And so I want to wrap up by celebrating you, because I think that you have provided so much knowledge and guidance to people throughout all your years, including in retirement. But to your point of that appreciation and recognition, sometimes we don't acknowledge ourselves enough. So instead of me celebrating you even more, what is something about yourself, about Lee Cockerell, that you think, you know what, I don't want to tell myself, good job? What should we celebrate about you?
Well, I must say, you shouldn't have this need for people telling you how great you are, but I do. And I hate it, but I do. I mean, and when I get a note, somebody says, thank you so much, I can't believe what you taught me. Or one guy wrote me the other day, and he wrote to Daniel, my son, and he said, I guess you must be related to Lee Cockerell because your name's Cockerell. And he said, your dad is the greatest of them all. I read his book and it changed my life. And I'm going like, gee, wow, greatest of them all. Maybe I'm going to be like a football player there. What's it?
Look at a bronze statue of you outside by Walt, right?
That makes me feel good. And that's why I want to keep doing it, because I get those frequently, and you just don't realize the influence you have. You as a mother, as a leader, as out in the world, paying attention to people. And we all have huge influence for better or for worse. And I now realize that. I didn't always, but I do now. So I try to behave. And yeah, so that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
You got to think deeply about what you care about. What do you really care about? Not just, the fake what I care about.
What would get me the most likes if I pretend I care about? Right?
Yeah.
No. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lee. I appreciate your time, your insight, your humor, for being you, for being Lee Cockerell, that people can find and truly grab a coffee with. So if you have questions for Lee, you know where to find him.
I'm here. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Lee. Make sure to check out Lee's Cockerell Academy. It is a perfect way to get all of his insight. He's got an abundance of courses. He does community calls where he'll hop on and continuously share that insight. He is one of those leaders that will make sure you know you are the only person that matters in that conversation. So thank you, Lee. Always appreciate your insight and wisdom. And to everybody else, think about how you can lead like Lee. How can you make sure that you are always available and present for those looking to learn, help them grow, and ensure that they know how to create magic in their life? As always, be well, stay curious, and we'll see you real soon.
Did you know 51 Disneylands can fit in one Disney World? Wowzers!
Later, Tater.